There comes a moment in every human life that is so small, so quiet, so ordinary, that most people walk right past it without ever realizing it was the moment that could have changed everything. It does not arrive with applause. It does not announce itself with certainty. It does not wait until you feel ready. It comes disguised as a decision, a single decision, the decision to believe when every voice around you whispers doubt, the decision to continue when every obstacle demands surrender, the decision to become the author of your destiny instead of the victim of your circumstances. History has never been shaped by people who waited for perfect conditions. History has always been written by those who made a decision before the world believed they could succeed. Thomas Edison did not invent the light bulb because failure was absent from his journey. He invented it because he refused to allow failure to make his decisions. Henry Ford did not build an empire because everyone supported his vision. He built it because he decided that the opinions of ordinary minds would never define an extraordinary future. Andrew Carnegie was not born surrounded by wealth. He was born surrounded by limitations. But limitations are powerless against a mind that has already decided where it is going. That is the secret. Success is never an accident. It is never a coincidence. It is never reserved for a chosen few. Success begins the moment a human being refuses to negotiate with mediocrity. Most people spend years searching for motivation. They watch videos, they read books, they attend seminars, they wait for inspiration to strike like lightning. But inspiration is unreliable, decision is permanent. The person who waits to feel motivated will always remain a prisoner of emotion. The person who makes a decision becomes the master of emotion, because emotions change, circumstances change, the economy changes, people change. But a decision rooted in purpose becomes stronger every time life attempts to challenge it. Imagine a ship crossing the middle of a violent ocean. The waves rise higher than the captain has ever seen. The wind screams with terrifying force. Dark clouds erase every sign of the horizon. To the passengers, everything appears uncertain. Some panic, some complain, some pray. But the captain keeps his hands on the wheel. Why? Because he made his decision before the storm arrived. He already knows his destination. The storm does not decide where the ship will go. The captain does. Your mind must become that captain. Life will send storms. Failure will arrive. Criticism will appear without invitation. People who once believed in you may suddenly disappear. Opportunities may take longer than expected. Dreams may demand a greater price than you imagined. But none of those things possess the power to determine your future. Only your decisions do. Napoleon Hill spent decades studying the greatest achievers of his generation. He interviewed industrial giants, business leaders, inventors, visionaries. He searched for the invisible thread connecting extraordinary people from completely different backgrounds. He discovered that wealth begins long before money. Success begins long before achievement. Victory begins long before opportunity. Everything starts with the human mind. Before the world sees your success, your mind must see it. Before your family believes in your dream, you must believe in it. Before reality changes, identity changes. This is where most people lose the battle. They expect evidence before belief. But greatness has always worked in reverse. The farmer does not wait for the harvest before planting the seed. The architect does not wait for the building before drawing the blueprint. The sculptor does not wait for the masterpiece before touching the stone. They act because they already see what others cannot. Vision always comes before reality. That is why your imagination is one of the greatest gifts ever placed inside a human being. Everything you create twice, first in your mind, then in the world. Every company, every invention, every movement, every fortune, every masterpiece, every breakthrough. Someone imagined it first. The tragedy is not that people fail. The tragedy is that millions of people never allow themselves to imagine a future greater than their present. They shrink their dreams to match their circumstances. They lower their standards to fit the opinions of others. They trade possibility for security, and without realizing it, they slowly surrender the life they were capable of living. There is a silent battle taking place inside every human being. It is not the battle between success and failure. It is the battle between fear and faith. Fear says, wait. Faith says, move. Fear says, you are not ready. Faith says, you become ready by beginning. Fear reminds you of every mistake you have ever made. Faith reminds you of every victory you have not yet achieved. The voice you choose to follow becomes the architect of your future. Every morning you wake up with two invisible choices standing beside your bed. One whispers comfort, the other whispers growth. One promises immediate relief, the other promises lasting fulfillment. One asks you to remain the person you were yesterday. The other challenges you to become the person your future requires. And whether you realize it or not, every single day, you answer that question with your decisions. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens your character. Every excuse you accept weakens it. Every difficult task you complete increases your confidence. Every responsibility you avoid increases your doubt. Your destiny is not created in one extraordinary moment. It is created through thousands of ordinary decisions that nobody else ever sees. Your destiny is not created in one extraordinary moment. It is created through thousands of ordinary decisions that nobody else ever sees. The world celebrates championships. It rarely celebrates the mornings that created the champion. It applauds the standing ovation. It ignores the empty rooms where discipline was forged. It admires confidence. It forgets the years spent conquering fear. Every successful person you have ever admired was once completely unknown. Before the applause, there was silence. Before the recognition, there was rejection. Before the victory, there was sacrifice. This is why success belongs to those who can remain faithful when there is no evidence that their efforts are working. A seed buried beneath the soil does not panic because it cannot yet see the sun. It understands something many people forget. Growth happens in the invisible before it appears in the visible. The roots always grow before the branches. Character always grows before influence. Discipline always grows before achievement. Nature has never rushed the process, neither should you. Look at the bamboo tree. For years, it appears as though nothing is happening. The person who judges only by appearances believes the seed has failed. But beneath the surface, an enormous root system is quietly expanding. Then, in what seems like a miracle, the bamboo rises with astonishing speed. People call it overnight success. Nature calls it preparation. Your life follows the same law. Every difficult morning, every lonely night, every page you read, every skill you practice, every promise you keep, every temptation you resist, every excuse you refuse to accept, becomes another invisible root supporting the future you cannot yet see. Never underestimate the power of unseen progress. The greatest transformations are almost always invisible in the beginning. That is why patience is not passive. Patience is disciplined confidence. It is the quiet certainty that today's effort will become tomorrow's opportunity. Henry Ford once faced financial collapse. Many believed his vision was impossible. They laughed at the idea that ordinary families could own automobiles. But Ford was not building cars. He was building belief. Every obstacle simply demanded a greater level of determination. Eventually, the world adjusted its opinion. It almost always does. The world has a habit of doubting visionaries before celebrating them. Do not seek approval before pursuing purpose. If Columbus had waited for unanimous agreement, he never would have sailed. If the Wright brothers had accepted the opinions of experts, mankind might have waited decades longer to conquer the skies. If Walt Disney had accepted rejection as truth, millions of childhood dreams would never have existed. Vision always looks unreasonable to people who have stopped dreaming. Protect your vision. Not everyone deserves access to your dreams. Some people speak from experience. Others speak from fear. Learn to recognize the difference. A dream placed in the hands of a fearful person often returns covered in doubt. Guard your ambition like a priceless treasure. Feed it with knowledge. Strengthen it with action. Protect it with discipline. Because dreams do not disappear on their own. They disappear when people stop believing they are possible. Every day, the world attempts to negotiate with your standards. It offers comfort instead of growth, excuses instead of responsibility, entertainment instead of education, distraction instead of purpose, average instead of excellence. Every time you choose the easier road, you quietly teach your mind that comfort is more valuable than your future. But every time you choose discipline, something extraordinary happens. You begin trusting yourself.